Richard Linklater and A Scanner Darkly, a look at animated dystopia. Introduction. Hey, movie buffs. Ready to dive into a cinematic journey that blends animation, philosophy, and dystopia? Today, we're talking about A Scanner Darkly, a film that's not just a sci-fi flick but a visual and mental experience that leaves you thinking long after the credits roll. And, of course, we can't talk about this gem without mentioning its creator, the ever-innovative Richard Linklater. If you love movies that challenge conventions, make you question reality, and, on top of that, have an all-star cast, Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, and Winona Ryder, what more could you want? Then this is the video for you. We're going to explore why A Scanner Darkly is one of the most fascinating and underrated films of the 2000s and how Linklater managed to fuse animation, complex storytelling, and deep themes into a single masterpiece. Style and vision of Richard Linklater. Richard Linklater isn't your average director. He's like that friend who always has an interesting story to tell, but instead of telling it over coffee, he does it through film. His style is unique, he blends the everyday with the extraordinary and always finds a way to make his characters feel real, even when they're in completely surreal situations. In A Scanner Darkly, Linklater uses a technique called rotoscoping, which basically involves animating over real footage. This gives the film a look that's both familiar and strange, like you're watching a dream you're not sure is yours or someone else's. And that's exactly what Linklater wanted, to make you feel as confused and paranoid as his characters. But it's not just the animation that makes this film special. Linklater has a gift for dialogue. His characters talk like you and me, but then they suddenly drop a philosophical reflection that leaves you speechless. In A Scanner Darkly, the conversations are a mix of absurd humor and existential depth. They talk about drugs, surveillance, identity, themes that, while wrapped in sci-fi, feel incredibly real. Historical context and synopsis. Now, let's talk about the context. A Scanner Darkly was released in 2006, in the middle of the War on Terror, when the world was starting to question the limits of privacy and government control. Sound familiar? The film, based on Philip K. Dick's novel, takes us to a dystopian future where society is under constant surveillance, and a drug called Substance D is destroying lives. The protagonist is Bob Arctor, played by Keanu Reeves, an undercover agent who infiltrates a group of addicts. But here's the twist, Arctor is also an addict, and his double life sends him spiraling into paranoia and confusion. To make matters worse, he wears a scanner suit that hides his identity, so even his colleagues don't know who he really is. Can you imagine living in a world where you don't even know who you are? Technical and thematic innovation. What makes A Scanner Darkly so special is how Linklater combines form and content. The rotoscoping animation isn't just a visual trick, it's a narrative tool. That fluidity between the real and the animated reflects the mental confusion of the characters, especially Arctor, who increasingly loses control over his own identity. And then there's the ending. Without spoiling too much, let's just say it's one of those endings that leaves you with more questions than answers. It's ambiguous, unsettling, and full of symbolism. Linklater doesn't give you easy answers, he invites you to reflect on the nature of reality, social control, and how drugs can destroy not just the body, but also the mind. Legacy and impact. Although A Scanner Darkly wasn't a box office hit at the time, it has since become a cult classic. Its influence can be seen in films like Christopher Nolan's Inception or Spike Jonze's Her, which explore complex themes through unconventional narratives. But beyond cinema, A Scanner Darkly is a warning about the dangers of mass surveillance and addiction. In a world where we're more connected than ever and, at the same time, more isolated, the film remains incredibly relevant. It's as if Linklater looked into the future and saw exactly what we were going to become. Conclusion. So, why should you watch A Scanner Darkly? Because it's a film that challenges you, makes you think, and immerses you in a world that, while dystopian, isn't so far from our own. Richard Linklater gave us a work that's not only visually stunning but also deeply human. It's a reminder that cinema doesn't have to be just entertainment, it can also be art, philosophy, and, above all, a call to reflection. What do you think? Have you seen A Scanner Darkly? Do you think its message is still relevant today? Leave your comments and don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video. Until next time, movie lovers.